Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. So we can either use the calculator to work out what 1.2 cubed is, or we can do 1.2 times 1.2 times 1.2. Now if you want to use the calculator to go straight there, you're going to press or type in 1.2, and then normally there's a button that looks like this, X with a little 3, okay, and that will give you the answer. Or if you're not sure how to do that, you can times it by itself 3 times and you get the answer 1.728. Congruent means that it's a shape that is exactly the same as another shape, but it can be rotated, translated, can be flipped around, but it's basically the same shape. So I imagine cutting it out onto cardboard and trying to fit it into the other shape. If it can fit, then they are congruent. So looking at the shapes, we've got some triangles, we've got some weird looking shapes, but I'm going to look at A and I'm going to draw A in. I'm just going to trace A, and what we can notice is if I manipulate that now and if I bring it down to E, it kind of almost looks the same as E, but what I can do is actually just reflect it and it's exactly the same as E. So A and E are congruent. So to draw this straight line graph, what we're going to do is just pick 3 x coordinates, which is -2, 0 and 2. So I'm going to start off with -2, and I'm just going to substitute it into the equation we've got here. So y equals -2 times -2, because that's what we're putting in, plus 8. -2 times -2 is +4. So it's going to be 4 plus 8, which is going to be 12. So at -2, our graph is at 12, which will be here. Then we're going to put in x equals 0. So it's going to be y equals -2 times 0 plus 8. Anything times 0 is just 0, so it's just going to be 0 plus 8, or just 8. So it's going to be 0, 8 will be our next coordinate. And then finally we've got x equals 2, so it's going to be y equals -2 times 2 plus 8. -2 times 2 is going to be -4, and -4 plus 8, which is the same as 8 take away 4, so that's going to be 4. So at 2 it's going to be 4. So we get our ruler to be able to draw this in. We try our best to make sure it's as neat as we can. And make sure it continues on for the whole graph, so no gaps. For each of these options, try and construct in your head the triangles that would be made from these lengths. And I'm going to give an example for question D, or for option D. And I'm going to construct my triangle just with sticks. So we're going to start off with our first stick, which is 19 centimeters. Then we're going to do another stick, which is going to be 37 centimeters. And we've got one last stick, which is 61 centimeters. Now, looking at the first 2 sticks, the actual combined distance of them, so when we add them together, so be 19 centimeters plus 37 centimeters, is 56 centimeters. So that's the combined width of them. And you can see that that actually wouldn't be able to create a triangle if the third stick is 61 centimeters. So the side here could combine with this side. So we could move this whole stick here onto this side here, but we can't actually make a triangle with it because the 2 lengths that we've got won't ever reach the end bit here. They just won't ever reach that bit. to be able to create the triangle. And I'm just going to put that back. So our answer is option D. So looking at the hours and the charge, we know that 4 hours is a charge, and I'm going to do the charge in pence, of 1,980 pence. And so what I want to do is just work out what 1 is. And to do that, I'm going to divide that by 4. So I'm just going to divide this by 4. It's always useful to find out what 1 is first. So that would be 495. Then all I need to do now is times it by 15. Because 1 times 15 is 15. And so we've got 15 hours, and when I times that by 15, I get 7425. So it'd be £74.25. So for this question, I think of the ratio in terms of piles. So food is getting 37 piles of money, and drink is getting 4 piles of money. So we've got to first of all work out how many piles of money we have. So we're going to do 37 plus 4, and that will give us 41. So we've got 41 piles of money. Now each pile is equal, so to work out how much one pile or one part is worth, and in maths we call them parts, but they're just like piles of money, we're going to do 13,161, the total amount of money, and we're going to divide it by how many piles there are, which is 41. When we do that, we get 321. So each pile is worth 321 pounds. Now, if we look at how many piles drink had, well, they had 4 piles. So we're going to just work out 4 lots of the 321, which is going to be 1,284. So they spent £1,284 on drink. Rate is always something over time. So in this question, we can work out the rate as being the pay, or the final pay, or whatever, over time. Now we're asked what the time is, so we're just going to put the time on the left hand side, and we're just going to swap the rate and time over. So it would just be pay over rate. The pay is £180. The rate is £12 an hour. So it'd be 180 divided by 12, which is 15. So it'll take 15 hours. To answer this question, we need to cut this shape into 2 shapes. So we're going to draw a line across here, and we're going to cut it into a rectangle and a triangle. Now we need to first of all label the parts of the triangle. So the length or the width of the triangle, the base, will be the same as the base at the bottom, so that will be 20 centimeters. And we need to find the height, which is this length here, which is 90 degrees to the base. And to find that, what we can look at is the fact that the total height of the whole thing is 13, and the height of the bit we don't want is 11. So what's left over? Well, 2 centimeters will be left over, so the height will be 2 centimeters of the triangle. So let's work out the area of the triangle first. Which is going to be half times base times height. Half times the base, which is 20, times the height, which is 2, will just give us 20. Now let's work out the area of the rectangle. And that's just going to be the width times the length. Width is 20, the length is 11, so that would be 220. Then to work out the total area of the whole thing, we're just going to add those together. So 220 plus 20, which is 240. The units are all in centimeters, and so the area units will be centimeters squared. So we're asked to find the value of n where both sequences have the same term. So I'm going to start off by equaling both nth terms to each other, and then we can find the value of n which gives the same term. So I draw my lines down, and I'm going to start off by getting rid of the n's from both sides. So we look to see which is the smaller amount. So we've got 12n and we've got 6n, so the smaller amount is the 6n. So we're going to take away 6n both sides, and so that would be 6n plus 19, and we've got rid of the 6n, so just 79. Next thing we're going to do is get rid of the 19, so take away 19 both sides, and so we've got 6n equals 79, take away 19, which is 60, and finally we just go divide the 6, and so that would be n equals 10. So the value of n is 10. Now we can just test this, because if you do 6 times 10, which is 60, 60 plus 79, which would be 139. And then if we do the same for the top one, 12 times 10, which is 120, plus 19, which is 139. So they both have the same term when n is 10. The formula for an exterior angle for a regular polygon is 360 divided by the amount of sides. Now here we're given the fact that the exterior angle is 30 and we're looking for n, so we just need to rearrange the equation. We can times both sides by n, and then divide both sides by 30. And so we've got n equals 360 divided by 30. And when you do 360 divided by 30, we get the answer of 12. So it's a 12-sided shape. To find the largest weight this package could have been before it was rounded, let's do a quick number line. And we're going to just do it between the 24 and what it would round to next. Well, it's to the nearest kilogram, so the next thing it would round to is 25. The cutoff point for rounding is here. And that's going to be halfway between 24 and 25, which is 24.5. And that is actually going to be our answer. Now, some of you who are astute might realise that 24.5 would round to 25, but theoretically, the biggest it can be is going to be 24.49 recurring. Let's just draw that a bit better, 24.49 recurring. And that is actually the same as 24.5. In your exam, however, you can write 24.49 recurring and you would get full marks. But for brevity, I would definitely recommend writing 24.5. I'm going to start this question by writing down what we know. So the toy car is travelling at 17 meters per second initially, so the initial velocity or initial speed is 17 meters per second. It accelerates for 4 meters per second squared, so acceleration is going to be 4 meters per second squared, and it's for 12 meters. Now, displacement just means distance as a vector, so we're going to use displacement, and we use the s to show displacement just to be confusing. So displacement is always the confusing one. And we're asked to find the final velocity. Now the final velocity is shown with a v, so that's what we're looking for. So we're going to find out which of the formula we're going to use. Now notice we're not given the time, so all the formulas with t in them are not going to be useful. We're not looking for or are given the t. And it's going to be the last formula, the v squared equals u squared plus 2as. Okay, let's fill in what we know. Well, we're looking for v squared. Well, we're looking for v, so we'll leave that. And so it's going to be 17 squared plus 2 times 4 times 12. And then when you work that out on a calculator, that comes to 385. And we're going to do some quick solving here. And we're going to square root both sides to get rid of that squared. So we get v equals the square root of 385, which is 19.621, etc. And it wants it to 2 decimal places, so we're going to write down 19.62 meters per second. So for this question, what we need to do is factorise 4t plus 6. Now factorise means put it into brackets. So if I try, what I can do is I can actually put a 1 on the outside here. So 1 times 4t plus 6 is 4t plus 6, but the question clearly states that it is higher than 1. So we need to find another number that's higher than 1 to factorise this with. So if we look at 4t and 6, well, they're both in the 2 times table. So I can put a 2 on the outside here. 2 times 2t is 4t, and 2 times 3 is 6. So what we can do is we can just check that out with smiles and rainbows. Put all my times down there to remind me to times it. So 2 times 2t is 4t, 2 times 3 is 6. So that works because that is the same as this in the question. So we know that 2 times 2t plus 3 works. In fact, it's the only one that works with it being an integer. So we therefore know that the known side, because it says it's a known number, is 2. And the other side will be 2t plus 3. And then when you multiply them together, you get the area of 4t plus 6. So our answer, because it says the length is the known number, so that's the length, then we're finding the width, which is this one here. So it's 2t plus 3. To see if a number's in a sequence, we get the nth term, and we get it equal to the number we think is in the sequence. And if the number is in the sequence, then we'll get a integer for n. If the number's not in the sequence, then we'll get a decimal. So we're just solving this now, and we're doing 135 take away 24, which is 111. And then we're going to divide both sides by 10, and you're probably already seeing the fact that it doesn't work exactly because n is 11.1, which means that Prisha is wrong. 135 can't be in that sequence. So let's just write out this sequence. So first thing we're going to do is work out what the sequence is going up in. And we can see here that we're adding 15 each time in our sequence. And whatever the sequence is going up in is what goes before n, so it's going to be 15n. Now 15n would give us the 15 times table, and this isn't the 15 times table. So to work out what the offset is, we go and find our 0th term. So instead of adding 15, when we go backwards, we're going to take away 15. And so that would be 10. And so our answer is going to be 15n, and we're going to add that 10 on. So I'm going to write the equation out, the formula out. And we're asked to make y the subject, so I'm just going to get my lines in. And so what's stopping us from having y on its own? Well, this minus 1, how am I going to get rid of it? Add 1 both sides. So we've got x plus 1 equals 9y. What else do we have that stops y from being on its own? Well, this times 9 here. So we're going to do the opposite, the inverse, which is divide by 9 both sides. And to do that nicely, what we do is we just do it as a fraction. X plus 1 over 9 equals y. So therefore y is x plus 1 over 9. Factorising is the opposite of expanding. With expanding, we're multiplying out a bracket. With factorising, we're putting something in a bracket. So I'm going to start by just putting the bracket down. Now I need to ask myself, what number can I divide out of 3x squared and 5x? Well, there's not going to be a number I can divide out, but they both have at least an x. X squared obviously is x times x, and x is just on its own for the 5x. So we're going to divide out the x. So I need to ask myself, what times x is going to be 3x squared? Well, obviously 3x. And then we ask ourselves, what times x is 5x? Well, that's just going to be 5. And if you were to expand that set of brackets, you will get 3x squared plus 5x. So we know it's the correct one. And so our answer will be x brackets 3x plus 5. First thing we need to do is work out the volume of this prism, and it's a trapezium based prism. So the volume will be the area of the cross section or area of the trapezium times the length, how 3D the prism is. So trapezium is half a plus b h, and then times the length. Now A and B are the two parallel sides, which will be this one and this one, and then the h is the perpendicular line that hits both of them at 90 degrees, which is what perpendicular means, between the bases. So this will be the 25 meters here. So it's going to be half, and then we're going to add 1 and 5, times that by 25. The length is how 3D it is, so it would be that 10 there. So we're going to times that by 10, and that will give us 750. So it's 750 meters cubed. Now, there is a little formula we can make for the rate. So the rate of anything for this will be the volume gained over time. Now, with this question though, we're interested in the time it will take. It says how long will it take. So we're actually looking at the time. So it will be time equals the volume, which is 750, over the rate, which is 15. So 750 divided by 15 is 50. So it will take 50, and let's have a look. It says per minute, so it would be 50 minutes. So we're going to first of all draw a tree diagram for this information. You don't have to, but it is easier to understand what's going on. And so the first choice will be the first pick. It'll either be male or female. And the second choice will be the same, male and female. And looking at the questions, there are 3 male names in the hat and 5 names in total. So the fractions for the first one will be 3 over 5. If there's 3 male names, there'll be 2 females. Now, if we've picked a male name already, there'll be 2 left and 4 left in total. If we haven't picked a female, there's still 2 females, but there's 4 left in total. If we picked a female, there'd still be 3 males and only 4 left in total, but there'd only be 1 female left. 1 female name left and 4 left in total. Okay, we're looking for the probability that the genders of the names are different. So looking at the outcomes, the outcome here would be male-male. That's not what we're interested in. Here would be male-female, we are interested in. Female-male, we are interested in. And female-female, we're not interested in. So we're not interested in these ones. And the way that tree diagrams work is as you go along the tree, any fractions you go across, you multiply together to find the outcome. So this will be 3 over 5 times 2 over 4. And I realise I could cancel 2 over 4, but I generally cancel at the end. So 3 times 2 is 6, 5 times 4 is 20. We're going to do the same with the other root. So 2 over 5 times 3 over 4. So 2 over 5 times 3 over 4, 3/4. That would be 6 over 20. Now we're looking to see whether it was male and female or female and male. And the word or in probability means add. So it'd be 6 over 20 plus 6 over 20. And this is the probability of different, which will be 12 over 20. Now 12 over 20 will cancel to 3 over 5, or 3/5. So what's happened here is that the company's increased the amount of sweets by 15%. So we're just going to focus on that and work out what the multiplier would be first. So they started off with 100% and they added 15%, and then therefore they ended up with 115%. And to find that as a multiplier, we get the 115 and divide it by 100, and that gives us 1.15. So that is the multiplier they used. Now, they used that multiplier on the original amount, and they times it by 1.15, and they got the answer of 69. But if we're working the other way to find out what they times by 1.15, we get that 69 and we divide it by the multiplier. So if we want to work out what the original number was, we divide it by the multiplier, and that gives us 60. So the answer will be 60. So we notice with the simultaneous equations here, the coefficients of the x and the y's are different. So we need to make either the x is the same or the y is the same. I'm going to pick the y's. So we've got a +3 here and a +5 there. And so we need to find the lowest common multiple of 3 and 5, which is 15. So we need to make them both 15. So I'm going to write out the first equation again. And go get my lines in, because I'm going to times everything by 5 to make the coefficient of the y to be 15, because that's what we've decided to do. So we've got 10x plus 15y equals 40. And we're going to do exactly the same thing with the second equation. So we've got 3x plus 5y equals 14. Get our lines in. This time we're going to times everything by 3, because 5 times 3 is 15. So that's going to be 9x plus 15y equals, and then 14 times 3, which is 42. And so we're going to write the equations next to each other so we can do our simultaneous equation magic on them. So 9x plus 15y equals 42. So we're going to draw our circles in, and remember, simultaneous equations are always working downwards. So we draw these circles in just to show which direction we're going. And we're looking at the signs of the y. And the reason we're looking at the signs of the y is because the y is the one with the same coefficient. Now, with these signs, if they are both the same, we subtract. If they are both different, we add. Now, looking at them, they are both pluses, so they are the same, so we are going to subtract. And we don't just subtract these, we subtract all of them. So we're going to do 10x take away 9x, which is just x, 15y take away 15y, which is nothing, which is good, that's what we want, and 40 take away 42, which is going to be -2. So x is equal to -2, but that is only one of the battles because we need to find out what y is. So we're going to substitute in that -2 into our first equation. So we've got 2 times -2 plus 3y equals 8, and we can get our lines in. So the first thing we're going to do is take away the -4. We're going to add 4 both sides because we've got a -4 here, so we're going to add 4 to both sides. So we've got 3y equals 12, and then the next thing is we're going to divide by 3 both sides to get y equals. So y equals 4. And we can check that by substituting it into the second equation and doing 3 times -2 plus 5 times 4, and that does equal 14. To work out the total surface area of the cone, we've got to first of all work out the curved surface area. And the formula for that is pi RL, with L being the slanted length. And this 13 here gives us the slanted length, so it's pi times the radius, which is 5, times 13. And that's going to be 204.203, blah, blah, blah. We'll keep that in our calculator. We've got to then work out the area of the circle at the bottom. So the area of the circle, which the formula is pi r squared. So it's going to be pi times 5 squared, which is 78.539, blah, blah, blah. And so the total surface area is just a matter of adding those together. and that will give us 282.743 blah blah blah. And 2 decimal places, that's going to be 282.74. So we're told these triangles are similar, which means there's a scale factor between them. So we've got 2 corresponding lengths here and here. So we've got to work out what we times the 22 by to get to the 99. So we do 99 divided by 22, and that's 4.5. So we know we times this by 4.5. And so we do the same with the 35. So we times that by 4.5, because that's our scale factor. And 35 times 4.5 is 157.5. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.